Vasade Gaurava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, Text 35. We have already begun the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we continue reading. According to the development of consciousness, God realization is present. In the human form of life, it is recommended, therefore, that one undergo the different types of penances and austerities described in Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So we were hearing yesterday, because in the animal bodies, our consciousness is not developed enough to understand the truth, to understand our spiritual nature, to understand God. But in the human form of life, we can, because the consciousness is more evolved, it's more developed. So we do have that capability to understand God realization. So like a staircase, yoga has different steps for reaching the topmost floor. And according to one's position upon the staircase, he is understood to be situated in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna, he speaks of the yoga ladder in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, so one may say, oh, but I read the Bhagavad Gita, I never hear about Krishna speaking a ladder. Well, he does, because he speaks about Karmakan, offering sacrifices to the demigods so that we can go to heavenly planets. And then he speaks about Gyan Yoga, once. So first is the Karmakan, where we are full of material desires, we do some ritualistic activities. And then the purpose is that when we are doing these ritualist activities, the devotees who come to do the rituals, then they can tell us, hey, why you are wanting to go to the heavenly planets? You should try to go to the spiritual world. We are the spirit, not matter. So then one may get renounced with that and try to cultivate some knowledge, go up to the next level called Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yoga, path of knowledge. And then one may proceed further to Dhyan Yoga, which is meditation. So Dhyan Yoga helps us to realize the Brahman aspect of the Lord, the impersonal Brahman. And then when one progresses further, comes to Dhyan, one can realize the Paramatma aspect of the Supreme Lord. And when one progresses even further, Bhakti Yoga, then one can understand the personal aspect of God, that God is a person. So depending where one is in the yoga ladder, he's called either a karma yogi, a gyan yogi, dhyan yogi, or bhakti yogi. Like a staircase, yoga has different steps for reaching the topmost floor. And according to one's position upon the staircase, he is understood to be situated in karma yoga, gyan yoga, dhyan yoga, or bhakti yoga. Of course, bhakti yoga is the topmost step on the staircase of realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why we are encouraged to directly go to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna says that Bhaktyamam Abhijanati, that only by bhakti can you know me. Then he says that those who are the devotees are very dear to me. So he's telling us so many places in Bhagavad Gita that come directly to the level of Bhakti Yoga. It's like if we want to go to the top floor of a skyscraper, it's easier if we take the elevator. If we take the staircase, it'll take more time, more energy. We may give up in the middle. We may say it's too troublesome. But if we sit in the elevator, easily we can go. So Bhakti Yoga is the easiest and fastest method of God realization, of self-realization. And it includes within it all the benefits derived from Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Karma Yoga. All the benefits are already included. It's like if someone is doing his master's, it's understood he's finished his high school, he's finished his undergrad. It's understood. So similarly with Bhakti Yoga, if one is taking it up, it's understood that they have already have the results of the other yogas. In other words, according to one's development in consciousness, one realizes his spiritual identity. And thus, when one's existential position is purified fully, he becomes situated in Brahmanan, which is ultimately unlimited. So it means that when one can understand, I am not this body, I am a spirit soul, that means situated in Brahmanan, situated on the Brahman platform, understanding I'm spirit soul. Therefore, the Sankirtana movement, contributed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Lord Chaitanya, is the direct and easiest process for coming to the purest form of consciousness, Krishna consciousness, the platform on which the Supreme Personality is fully realized. So Lord Chaitanya has given us this easy process. He's openly saying, chant Hare Krishna and take Krishna. Depends on us if we want to receive it, accept it. But he's giving us the highest. Directions for performing different types of yajnas are specifically arranged for the highest realization of the Supreme Lord, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized according to the proportion of one's surrender. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajami aham. Bhagavad Gita 4.11. So as much as we surrender, to that degree, Krishna reveals himself. Full surrender, however, occurs when a man is perfectly in knowledge. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. So what happens is our surrender happens partially. It happens in layers, it happens in stages, at least most of us. Some of us may be able to surrender completely immediately, but majority, our surrender is partial. And to the degree we surrender, to that degree Krishna reveals himself to us. As Prabhupada is pointing out, that full surrender happens on the platform of, after many, many births and deaths, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna and who is understood, I'm spirit soul. So if I'm spirit soul, what do? I engage in Krishna's service. Reading on. Aho mamami vitaranti anugraham.
Aho mamani vitaranti anugraham.
Harim gurum yakya bhujam adhishwaram.
Harim gurum yakya bhujam adishwaram.
Swadharma yogena yajanti mamaka.
Swadharma yogena yajanti mamaka.
Nirantaram shonitale dhridavrataha.
Nirantaram shonitale drita vrataha.
Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. And he is the supreme spiritual master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping him by dint of your occupational duties are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Maharaj Pṛthu's advice to his citizens to take to devotional service is now concluded in two ways. He has repeatedly advised persons who are neophytes to engage themselves in devotional service according to the capacities of the different orders of social and spiritual life. But here he specifically thanks those already engaged in such devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is actually the enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, and who is also the supreme teacher as Antaryami or Paramatma. So Krishna, he teaches us in two ways. One, as the Paramatma in our heart. He's the Chaitya Guru. And when he sees our sincerity, then Krishna comes in front of us as the spiritual master to teach us how to go back to him. So, and Krishna, he is the master of all sacrifices. All sacrifices are meant for his pleasure. Even the sacrifice of Harinam Sankirtan is meant for pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So we can see that he's so easily pleased. He's not telling us that you first become a billionaire or you create some new algorithm or, you create some new, I don't know, app or something. No, he's just saying you hear and chant for my pleasure. And he brings us back home, back to Godhead. So Pṛthu Maharaj again is telling the citizens, and he's thanking them that, oh, you're doing your duties for the satisfaction of Krishna. So he's grateful to them. And he's also thanking those who are engaged in pure devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya also tells us that we don't need to give up our positions in society prematurely. Wherever we are, we just take up this hearing and chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, hearing about Krishna from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Gradually, everything will be revealed. There is specific mention of the word Guru, which indicates the Supreme Personality as Chaitya Guru. So the Supreme Godhead in his Paramatma feature is present in everyone's heart, and he's always trying to induce the individual soul to surrender unto him and to engage in devotional service. Therefore, he's the original spiritual master. So who is the Chaitya Guru?
Krishna.
Yes. Specifically, which feature of Krishna?
Paramatma.
Yes. And what is he always trying to do?
To induce the individual soul to surrender unto him and engage in devotional service.
Yeah. That's what Krishna wants us to go back to him. He does not want us to be separated here, suffering in the material world. So he manifests himself as spiritual master, both internally and externally, to help the conditioned soul both ways. Therefore, he has been mentioned herein as Guru. It appears, however, that in the time of Mahārāja Pṛthu, all the people on the surface of the globe were his subjects. Most of them, in fact, almost all of them, were engaged in devotional service. Therefore, he thanked them in a humble way for engaging in devotional service and thus bestowing their mercy upon him. In other words, in a state where the citizens and the head of state are engaged in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they help one another and are mutually benefited. So by engaging in devotional service, not only are we helping ourselves, but we are helping everyone around us. Whenever we are hearing and chanting, so all the living entities, they can hear us. The birds, the insects, the germs, the trees, the plants, whoever, they're all getting purified. So a devotee is the best friend of everyone because he's helping everyone to go back home, back to Godhead, helping everyone to engage in devotional service. Majatu teja prabhavin mahardibis.
Majatu teja prabhavin mahadibis.
Titiksha tapasa vidyayacha.
Titikshaya tapasa vidyayaicha.
Dedipayamani ajita devatana.
Dedipyamane ajita devatanam.
Kule swayam raja kula vijay.
Kule swayam rajakuladvijanam.
The Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are personally glorified by the characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge, and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are more powerful than the Kshatriyas. Why? Because they have more tolerance, penance, knowledge, education. So they're very powerful with this spiritual assets. You know, Vishwamitra, he was a king, and he saw Vashishta Muni being a sage was more powerful than him. So he said, even I want to become a yogi. That's why he changed. We saw also how Kardama Muni, how he created a flying city, you know, just by his yogic powers. He's able to create a flying city, fully so opulent. So Pṛthu Mahārāja has explained in the previous verse the importance of devotional service for both the rulers and the citizens of the state. Now he explains how one can be steadily fixed in devotional service. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, while instructing Srila Rupa Goswami, has compared the devotional service of the Lord with a creeper. A creeper has a feeble stem and requires the support of a tree to grow. And while growing, it requires sufficient protection so that it may not be lost. So that's how a creeper is. Creeper always needs a support, something to hang on to, either a tree, you know, sometimes with someone who put a fence or some other object. Creeper needs something to grow on. So while describing the system of protection for the creeper of devotional service, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has especially stressed protection from offenses unto the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. Such offenses are called Vaishnava Aprad. Aprad means offense. If one commits Vaishnava Apradas, all of his progress in devotional service will be checked. So Mahaprabhu says that this offense against the Vaishnavas is very grievous because of a devotional creeper can be stunted, it can be lost with this aprad, blaspheming the Vaishnavas who are engaged in spreading the glories of the holy name. Even though one is very much advanced in devotional service, if he commits offenses at the feet of a Vaishnava, his advancement is all spoiled. So then what's the remedy? Is to approach the Vaishnava and humbly beg for forgiveness. And if one is physically unable to do so, then mentally one can do so. Durvasa Muni committed a Vaishnava Aprad and thus for 1 full year had to travel all over the universe, even to Vaikuntha Loka, to defend himself from the offense. At last, even when he approached the Supreme Personality of God in Vaikuntha, he was refused protection. Do you know which devotee did he offend? Durvasa Muni?
Ambrash, King Ambrash.
That's right.
Ambrash, yeah.
Yeah. Therefore, one should be very careful about committing offenses at the feet of a Vaishnava. The most grievous type of Vaishnava Aprad is called Guru Aprad, which refers to offense at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. In the chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Guru Aparad is considered the most grievous offense. Gurur Avagya Shruti Shastra Nindanam Padma Puran. Among the 10 offenses committed against the chanting of the holy name, the first offenses are disobedience of the spiritual master and blasphemy of the Vedic literature. So the holy name takes the offense personally. An offense to the Vaishnava, the holy name takes it as an offense to himself. The simple definition of Vaishnava is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A person who immediately reminds one of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is a Vaishnava. In this verse, both Vaishnavas and Brahmanas are mentioned. So who is a Vaishnava? Lord Chaitanya says, by seeing who, one is immediately reminded of Krishna. So that is Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is a learned Brahmana and is therefore designated as Brahmana Vaishnava, Brahmana Pandit, or as a Vaishnava and Brahmana. In other words, a Vaishnava is supposed to be a Brahmana already, but a Brahmana may not be a pure Vaishnava. When a person understands his pure identity, Brahma Janati, he immediately becomes a Brahmana. In the Brahmana stage, one's understanding the absolute truth is mainly based on the impersonal view. When a Brahmana, however, rises to the platform of personal understanding of the Supreme Godhead, he becomes a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is transcendental even to a Brahmana. In the material conception, the position of a Brahmana is highest in human society, but a Vaishnava is transcendental even to a Brahmana. So how can we understand who's a Brahmana and who's a Vaishnava? So Brahmana, he has the understanding.
A Brahmana
Yes.
understands the absolute of impersonal view, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He has knowledge only of the Brahman, of the Supreme Lord as the light. And what about a Vaishnava?
Vaishnava understands that the Supreme Lord is a person.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right. That's right. Thank you. So a Vaishnava is a Brahmana already included, whereas a Brahmana may or may not be a Vaishnava. So if somebody has done masters, he's already done his undergrad, whereas one who has done an undergrad may or may not have done his masters. That's how we can understand. Vaishnava is transcendental position. It's on a liberated platform. It's a pure devotee of Krishna. Both the Brahmana and Vaishnava are spiritually advanced. Brahmana's qualifications are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as truthfulness, mental equanimity, control of the senses, power of tolerance, simplicity, knowledge of the absolute truth, firm faith in the scriptures, and practical application of the Brahmanical qualities in life. In addition to all these qualifications, when one fully engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he becomes a Vaishnava. So Krishna enumerates the Brahmanical qualities in Bhagavad Gita. And then of course Prabhupada is pointing out that when a Brahmana, when he's engaging in devotional service, then he's a Vaishnava, fully engages, pure devotional service. So Vaishnava, he is a pure devotee of the Lord. It's a very exalted platform. Pṛthu Mahārāja wants his citizens who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Lord to take care against offenses to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Offenses at the lotus feet are so destructive that even the descendants of Yadu, who were born in the family of Lord Krishna, were destroyed due to offense at their feet. Does anyone know this pastime? How the descendants of Yadu, what offense they did? So the children, the young boys, they were playing pranks, and Samba, he dressed up as a woman and, put an iron ball in his stomach area to show that he's a pregnant woman. And they went to all the sages and they said, "Oh, my dear sages, what's going to be born?" So they were offending these great exalted personalities. And then they were cursed that, okay, whatever is born is going to be the cause of your destruction. Now, one may say that why did the Yadus act like this? And another may say why the sages cursed them for such, just like a prank, childish prank. But the point idea is Krishna's pastimes. He wanted his Yadu dynasty to go back to the spiritual world. Whoever were demigods, he wanted the demigods to go back to their position. Whoever had come from spiritual world to go back to the spiritual world. Krishna was winding up his pastimes. But anyway, this pastime goes to show that, how, can we say, how dangerous it is to offend a Vaishnava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot tolerate any offense at the lotus feet of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Sometimes, due to their powerful positions, princes or government servants neglect the position of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, not knowing that because of their offense, they will be ruined. Anyone remember any pastime specifically which somebody is very powerful, they were very powerful, they neglected a pure devotee, then they got cursed? Sneha, you remember?
That's what I'm trying to recollect. Not getting
I'm
it.
sorry.
No, I'm not getting it. Can't remember.
It was the sons of Kovera.
Okay.
Kriva and Nala Kovera. They were powerful princes, no?
Yeah,
And then they
yeah.
offended Narad Muni. They got cursed. Of course, the curse of a pure devotee is beneficial. They became pure devotees by seeing the pastimes of Krishna in the Angan of Nanda Maharaj, in the garden of.
Yeah.
So the point for Pṛthu Maharaj is saying that avoid this offense, Vaishnava pride. And if we have committed, then we beg for their mercy, personally, if possible, if not possible, from the heart in meditation. Vaishnavas are very kind. They will forgive us. So we'll stop here for today. Any questions?
Yes. So that pastime you're saying about Samba he's the son of Krishna, right?
That's right. Yeah, he's Krishna's son, but he was always very mischievous. And then is there in the 11th canto, I think, of Bhagavatam, you'll hear about it,
Okay.
where Krishna is wrapping up his earthly pastimes. So Samba dresses up as a woman, puts some iron ball in his stomach area, and then they curse that this is what's going to cause the destruction. So they grind this iron to powder and throw it in the Ganges, but it comes back and goes inside the bamboo that was growing. So that's why the bamboo becomes like swords, and one piece, last piece is left. They can't grind it anymore. They toss it into the river. That piece is eaten by the fish, who's found by the hunter who makes the arrow and who shoots this arrow at the lotus feet of Krishna. And the bamboos, which have become as like swords, the yadus, when they are drunk, when they've gone to this Prabhas Kshetra to perform sacrifice, they get very drunk on drinking some rice, wine, or something. I'm not sure which kind, but so then they pick up these bamboos and they start killing each other because no one else would be able to kill the yadus, and they wouldn't die because they're Krishna's associates. So Krishna had to make this pastime so just so that they could go back, and so that then after this happened, he left also.
Okay. Yeah, that's why that pastime is there. When he gets killed, right? Like it shows it. Okay.
Yeah, but we have to understand that Krishna can never
But
get
Krishna
killed.
can, yeah.
It's a pastime just for
The
him to
pastime.
leave this earth, and he leaves behind a shadow body for the atheists to think that, okay, yes, he died. And that's for just to bewilder the minds of the atheists. Because Krishna's form is Satchidananda. And never can such a small arrow by hitting somebody on the foot. Somebody can't die with that, you know. Where Krishna is facing so many arrows being shot at him at the Kurukshetra war, nothing happens to him then. How can a tiny arrow in the foot also, such an insignificant part of the body, cause him to die? So it's just the pastime. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying.